August 2nd, 1943. A man crouches before a locked steel door in occupied Poland. In his palm, a key filed from scrap metal in a camp latrine. Behind that door sit rifles, pistols, and grenades, enough to turn 900 condemned prisoners into an army. He slides the key into the lock. If it jams, 800 men die by morning. If it turns, they burn this place to the ground. This is Treblinka. Not a prison, a death factory. In 17 months, 900,000 people walk through its gates. None are meant to walk out. The Nazis keep 840 men alive, rotating them into the gas chambers every few weeks, so no one lives long enough to resist. But one man started a conspiracy so dangerous, he carried cyanide in his coat. When the SS found him out, he swallowed it without naming a single conspirator. A teenage boy and a mechanic working by candlelight picked up where he left off. They armed themselves with the Nazis' own weapons and burned it until smoke was visible 30 kilometers away. How did unarmed prisoners crack the most secure lock in the Third Reich? And who made it past the wire? Treblinka is not a prison. It has no cells, no sentences, no courtyard. It is a death factory with a single product line. Trains pull into a fake rail station designed to calm the arrivals. A painted clock with hands frozen at 6, a wooden ticket window that sells nothing, signs reading, "To Białystok," pointing toward a wall. Victims step off the cars into a fenced corridor the guards call the Road to Heaven, a narrow chute walled with pine branches woven into camouflage fencing so dense that no one inside can see out and no one outside can see in. At its end sit 3 gas chambers, later expanded to 10, powered by a captured Soviet diesel engine. Carbon monoxide fills the sealed rooms. 12 minutes, and everyone inside is dead. SS guards open the chamber doors with handkerchiefs pressed to their faces. Bodies are dragged out by iron hooks, gold teeth yanked with pliers, hair shaved for U-boat insulation and textile stuffing. Rings are cut from fingers. Artificial limbs are catalogued. Corpses are stacked on rail ties and iron grates, doused in gasoline and burned. Then the next transport is called. The entire cycle from arrival to ash rarely exceeds 2 hours. The platform is hosed clean before the next train pulls in. At peak operation, Treblinka processes up to 12,000 people in a single day. In 17 months, it destroys approximately 900,000 lives, second only to Auschwitz in the Holocaust's machinery of murder, but faster per day than any other camp in the Reich. The Nazis keep roughly 840 men alive to run this machine. They call them the Sonderkommando, the Special Squad. These men sort suitcases, shine boots for the SS, cut women's hair, drag corpses from the chambers with leather straps, and shovel half-burned bones back onto the pyres when they collapse. They dig up old mass graves and reburn the remains when Berlin decides even buried evidence is too dangerous to leave. Every few weeks, a batch of Sonderkommando is gassed and replaced with fresh arrivals so no one accumulates enough knowledge or enough anger to become dangerous. There is no long-term survival at Treblinka. There are only short-term delays. Every man shoveling ash knows he is shoveling his own future. They eat. They sleep in barracks 6 feet from the chambers. They wake up and do it again. The SS call this efficiency. The prisoners call it something they have no word for. By spring 1943, transports begin to slow. The ghettos of Warsaw, Białystok, and Częstochowa have been emptied. The Nazis order the Sonderkommando to dig up mass graves and burn the decomposing remains, erasing even the physical evidence of what happened here. When the graves are empty and the last bone is powder, Treblinka will close, and the men who did the burning will be the final transport into the chambers. That math is not lost on anyone. They have no weapons, no outside contact, no way out surrounded by minefields, barbed wire, and watchtowers with MG-34 machine guns. The nearest forest is 200 meters of open ground away. Whispering about escape earns a bullet in the yard. One man decides the only option worse than fighting is waiting. His name is Julian Korączycki. Before the war, he was a captain and surgeon in the Polish army, a man trained to save lives under pressure, to make decisions when others freeze. In Treblinka, he is the camp doctor, which means he dispenses aspirin to men the Nazis intend to kill next week. He has surgical precision, military discipline, and nothing left to lose. That combination, inside a death camp, is the most dangerous thing the SS never accounted for. Korondzitsky begins recruiting in the autumn of 1942, pulling men aside during night latrine trips, building a conspiracy in whispers. His logic is merciless if they are already dead. The only question is whether they die having done something. So what exactly does a condemned surgeon plan to do with no guns, no outside contact, and guards who shoot first? And how does he intend to arm 800 men inside a camp designed to make that impossible? Korondzitsky divides the conspirators into cells of 5. Each cell knows only its own assignment. The men who will cut phone lines never learn which men will attack the watchtowers. He recruits Zelomir Bloch, a Czech army veteran with combat experience, as military coordinator. Marceli Galewski, a Polish Jewish engineer who before the war designed municipal infrastructure in Warsaw, handles logistics. Samuel Rosman, a former cantor from Łódź who sings prayers under his breath while dragging corpses, serves as a liaison between the two halves of the camp, the living zone and the killing zone, which are separated by a fence that almost no one crosses alive. The plan crystallizes through months of whispered meetings under barracks floors and beside latrine ditches, seize weapons, set the camp ablaze, cut the phone lines to the Małkinia garrison 7 kilometers south, and rush the perimeter wire before the watchtower gunners can coordinate overlapping fields of fire. The entire revolt must last under 30 minutes. After that, German reinforcements arrive, and it is over. The first problem is guns. Korondzitsky collects gold from the dead's belongings, jewelry that the Sonderkommando finds sewn into coat linings and shoe soles during the sorting process, watches, rings, bracelets, loose diamonds. He tries to bribe the Ukrainian Treblinka guards at the camp gate, men recruited from Soviet prisoner of war camps and trained at the SS facility in Treblinka to serve as auxiliaries. Weeks pass. The Ukrainians take the gold, grin, and hand over nothing but broken axe heads and dull file blades. Not a single firearm crosses the wire. The bribery produces only risk. Every exchange is a chance for an informer to notice, and informers in Treblinka are rewarded with an extra week of life. Then, in late May 1943, something unexpected cracks the camp's calm. A group of Jews arriving from the ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto carries a hidden grenade. In the undressing yard, the grenade detonates. 2 SS men drop dead. Sirens scream. For one blistering moment, the camp's control falters, and Korondzitsky's conspirators feel the walls tremble. But the moment dies as fast as it came. The SS lock every gate, double every patrol. The window slams shut before anyone can climb through. A week later, Korondzitsky himself is gone. An SS officer named Kurt Franz, the camp's deputy commandant, a man prisoners call the Doll for his boyish face and sadistic precision, searches Korondzitsky's quarters and finds the hidden bribe money. Guards drag the surgeon into the open. In the gray light of a Polish morning surrounded by SS men, Korondzitsky reaches into his coat. He does not beg. He does not look at the conspirators watching from the yard. He does not name a single one of them. He swallows a vial of cyanide he has carried sewn into his lining for exactly this moment. Franz shouts for a medic. No medic arrives fast enough. The leader of the revolt is dead on the gravel, and every man who watched him die knows he just bought them their lives. Panic floods the conspiracy. Korondzitsky was the architect, the nerve center, the only man who held every cell's thread. Some men whisper about abandoning the plan and trying to escape alone. But escaping alone from Treblinka means crossing minefields in wooden clogs and surviving weeks in a forest where German patrols shoot on sight. The odds are close to 0. Then Galewski stands. He is quieter than Korondzitsky, more methodical, an engineer who thinks in tolerances and load-bearing limits. He cuts through the fear with a single shift in strategy. They will not bribe for weapons anymore. Bribery failed instead. They will steal the only guns that matter, the rifles and grenades locked in the SS armory at the center of the German compound. The armory has one door and one lock. If they can copy that key, they can open it whenever they choose. Every conspiracy, every cell, Every whispered plan now depends on a single piece of metal that does not yet exist. If you're finding this story gripping, a quick like and subscribe is the fastest way to make sure you see stories like this one. Now, how do you copy a key inside a death camp where every move is watched, every tool is counted, and getting caught means the execution of everyone you are trying to save? Galewski identifies the problem with surgical precision. The armory key hangs on a hook inside the SS officer's quarters, a building where no prisoner enters without an order and a guard at his back. But there is one exception. 2 teenage prisoners work as orderlies for the German officers, cleaning boots, carrying water, sweeping floors. The guards call them Putzer boys, and they move through the officers' building with a freedom no adult prisoner could risk. Galewski approaches one of them, a boy named Chui, likely no older than 16. On a night in late July 1943, Chui slips into the officer's quarters carrying a cleaning rag and a lump of wax hidden in his palm. He lifts the armory key from its hook, presses it firmly into the wax, holds it for the longest seconds of his life, and eases the key back into place. If a guard rounds the corner, if the key leaves a mark on the hook, if anyone checks the wax, Chui dies and the revolt dies with him. He walks out with the impression intact. His hands are shaking. He is still alive. The wax mold reaches Galewski, who passes it to a prisoner who was a mechanic before the war. Working in a hiding spot near the women's latrine, using scrap steel, a crude file, and candlelight, the mechanic shapes a duplicate key over several nights. No caliper, no proper forge, no second chance. Every tooth of the key must match within a fraction of a millimeter, or the lock will jam and the sound will bring guards. When he finishes, the duplicate is rough but dimensionally close. Close is not the same as certain, and the only way to test it is to walk up to the most guarded door in Treblinka and try it. Galewski sends 2 men to the armory on a quiet afternoon. They crouch behind a fence, insert the forged key, and turn. A soft click. The door swings open. Inside, rows of Mauser rifles, stacks of pistols, crates of stick grenades. The 2 men grab 2 crates of grenades and carry them back to the barracks. Hearts hammering, they pry the lids open in silence. Then the air leaves the room. The grenades have no fuses. The SS stores fuses separately, a precaution that nearly ends the revolt before it starts. The men must carry the useless crates back to the armory and replace them exactly as they found them, right down to the dust pattern on the shelf. One misplaced box, one smudge, and Franz will know. They manage it. No alarm sounds. The key works, but the margin between success and catastrophe is the width of a fuse pin. While Galewski recalculates, desperation arrives from the other side of the camp in the Totenlager, the extermination zone where the gas chambers stand. A separate group of Sonderkommando has been burning the last of the exhumed mass graves. Their fuel is almost gone. When the pyres go cold, they know they will be the next bodies on them. They smuggle a message to Galewski, set a date now, or we revolt alone. The threat is existential. A revolt in one half of the camp will trigger an immediate massacre in the other. It must be coordinated or everyone dies in pieces. Galewski sets the date. Monday, August 2nd, 1943. The plan is at 4 in the afternoon. The armory opens. Weapons flow down a human chain. At 4:30, a single rifle shot signals the start. Phone lines cut. Buildings soaked in gasoline and lit. Every surviving prisoner charges the wire at once, counting on fire and confusion to keep the tower gunners blinded. If the key jams, the revolt is over before it begins. If it opens but the distribution is too slow, the SS will regroup and the towers will rake the yard clean. 800 men against trained guards, machine guns, and minefields, with 30 minutes before reinforcements arrive. Those are the odds. No one pretends they are good. August 2nd arrives under a hot summer sky. No transports are scheduled. Several SS officers have gone swimming at the Bug River 2 kilometers east, and the camp is running on a skeleton crew. One by one, conspirators drift into position, hiding gasoline cans under sorting tables, tucking rags into pockets. At 3:45, a tall man walks across the gravel yard toward the armory. Under his work clothes, he carries a rifle. In his hand, the forged key. 11 months of conspiracy, one dead leader, one teenage boy's trembling hands, one mechanic's candlelit nights, all compressed into a single piece of scrap metal now sliding into a lock. What happens in the next 5 seconds decides whether Treblinka's 900,000 victims are ever remembered at all, or whether the Nazis succeed in burying them under lupins in silence. Will 800 men move fast enough before the SS regroup? And what happens when the most carefully planned revolt in the history of the Third Reich starts 30 seconds too early? He puts the key in the lock. The key turns. The lock gives. For the first time in Treblinka's existence, the prisoners are armed. Rifles, pistols, and grenades flow down a human chain, hand to hand, through laundry rooms and under barracks, reaching every cell in minutes. At 4:30, a single shot cracks across the camp, but the plan begins unraveling almost immediately when an SS man on patrol near the garage notices prisoners moving with purpose and raises the alarm seconds before the phone lines are cut. The signal comes early. Men who were supposed to wait for weapons grab whatever is nearest: an axe, a board, a shovel. The carefully sequenced operation collapses into a brawl, and somehow, the chaos works in the prisoners' favor. Men hurl gasoline-soaked rags into every structure they can reach. The sorting warehouse, where mountains of shoes and eyeglasses and children's dolls sit in neat piles, catches first. Then the wooden barracks. Then the administration building where the camp's records are kept. Then the latrines. One man sprints into the camp garage and buries an axe into the fuel tank beneath an SS truck. The tank ruptures and detonates, sending a fireball across the motor pool that ignites 2 more vehicles. Within 5 minutes, Treblinka is an inferno. The wooden structures burn faster than anyone expected. Flames jump from roof to roof. That warehouse, packed with the belongings of 900,000 people, becomes a single roaring column of fire. Black smoke climbs thousands of feet into the August sky, visible from towns 30 kilometers away. Polish railroad workers on the Małkinia line will later photograph the smoke, producing the only images of Treblinka burning, a dark column against the blue summer sky that looks less like a campfire and more like an industrial explosion. Armed prisoners charge the perimeter. Several watchtowers are overwhelmed in the first rush, their guards shot or physically dragged down from the platforms. Other towers hold an open fire, and the MG-34 machine guns begin raking the yard in long, sweeping bursts. Men throw wooden planks and doors over the minefield and scramble across on their bellies. Others tear gaps in the barbed wire with their bare hands, leaving skin and blood on the rusted steel barbs. Bullets cut through smoke in every direction. Men fall at the wire, draped across it like laundry. Men fall past it, stumbling into the open ground between the fence and the tree line. The noise is total fire roaring, grenades detonating, machine guns hammering in short bursts, and men screaming in Polish, Yiddish, Czech, and German. Roughly 300 to 400 prisoners break through the perimeter and reach the tree line. They sprint into birch and pine forest without food, without maps, most without weapons, many still wearing the striped or ragged clothes that mark them as camp laborers. Some run in pairs, most run alone. The forest floor is soft with summer moss, and behind them the sky glows orange where Treblinka burns. But reaching the trees is not the same as reaching safety, because the forest around Treblinka is not wilderness. It is farmland and swamp, crisscrossed by roads, and every road will soon have a German patrol on it. Inside the camp, the revolt is over within the hour. The SS and Trauniki guards regroup, sweep the burning compound, and herd the remaining prisoners, perhaps 400 men too weak, too wounded, or too terrified to run into an open field near the sorting barracks. They are shot in rows. A handful die during the fighting itself, cut down at the wire or in the yard. The rest die on their knees in the dirt while smoke from the buildings they set ablaze still drifts over their heads. By the time the fires burn down to embers, Treblinka's killing machine has performed its function one final time on the very men who tried to destroy it. The camp that murdered 900,000 people ends the same way it began, with bodies in the dirt and guards walking away. Of the hundreds who broke through the wire, how many survived the forests, the farms, and the roads beyond? And what does the Reich do when it realizes the one place it needed the world to forget is now visible from 30 kilometers away? German and Treblinka search parties fan into the forests within hours. They bring dogs. They comb villages, bribe informants, set up roadblocks on every path leading away from the camp. The Wehrmacht garrison at Małkinia, alerted by the smoke visible from kilometers away, deploys additional soldiers to seal the roads east toward the Bug River. Local Polish farmers face an impossible choice. Some hide escapees in root cellars and hay barns at the risk of their own execution. Others turn fugitives in for a handful of Reichsmarks or a bottle of vodka. A few escapees are betrayed by the very farmers who sheltered them, sold out days later when fear outweighed compassion. Over the following days and weeks, the hunters close in. Men who survived gas chambers and machine gun fire die in drainage ditches and wheat fields. Of the 300 to 400 who broke through the wire, only an estimated 70 to 100 survived to see the end of the war. The rest are shot in forests, betrayed in villages, or starved in hiding. The survivors carry Treblinka out of the ashes in their bodies and their testimony. Samuel Willenberg, 19 years old during the revolt, survives the Warsaw Uprising a year later and spends decades carving bronze sculptures of Treblinka's victims. Chill Reichman buries a Yiddish memoir in the ground during the war and recovers it after liberation. Samuel Reisman testifies at Nuremberg in 1946, placing Treblinka's operation into the international legal record for the first time. Richard Glaser publishes his account in the 1990s, but the memories prove inescapable. He takes his own life in Prague in 1997. He is not the only one. Several survivors, haunted by guilt at having lived when 900,000 did not, never find a way back from what they witnessed. The key opened the armory door. It could not open the door back to a life before Treblinka. Meanwhile, the SS moves to erase every physical trace of what happened. In the weeks after the revolt, work crews dismantle every remaining structure beam by beam. Foundations are dug up, ashes are scattered across the fields, and the earth is plowed flat with tractors and seeded with lupins, a bright purple flower that blankets the ground so thickly it looks like a garden planted on purpose. A farmhouse is built from the camp's own bricks and set among newly planted trees. 2 Ukrainian families are installed to tend it, living on top of the unmarked graves of 900,000 people. The message from Berlin is explicit. This was always a farm, nothing happened here. Dig anywhere you like, you will find only roots and soil. At Belzec, another death camp to the south, the same erasure succeeds almost completely. Only 2 survivors are known to history, a name on a map with almost no voice attached. Treblinka does not vanish. Because of a surgeon who swallowed poison rather than betray his men. Because of a teenager who pressed a key into wax with shaking hands. Because of a mechanic who filed scrap steel by candlelight in a latrine. Because roughly 70 people walked out of a burning death camp and refused to let the world forget what they saw. Today, at the site of Treblinka, there are no buildings. There is no farmhouse. The lupins are gone. In their place stand 17,000 rough-cut granite stones set into the earth, each one inscribed with the name of a Jewish community that was destroyed in this place. Siedlci, Częstochowa, Międzyrzec, Warsaw. The stones do not explain. They do not comfort. They stand in rows on the same ground where people once stood in the road to heaven. Except these stones will never be moved. One key, filed from scrap in a latrine by candlelight, opened a door that the most powerful military machine in Europe wanted sealed forever. It did not save everyone. It did not stop the killing. But it turned a place designed to produce silence into the source of testimony that can never be unspoken. And if you think that's the most brutal mistake a government ever made against an innocent man, wait until you hear about the German father of 6 who was tortured in a CIA black site because of a single typo. Click here.